Roll call, Manager Falk.
Commissioner Hempel.
Here.
Commissioner Hagus.
Here.
Commissioner Gray.
Here.
Commissioner Zona.
Here.
Commissioner Bevan.
Here.
Commissioner Goss.
Here.
President Atwood.
Here. If you're able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ask if there's any citizens that are here to speak tonight, please sign the book at the podium. Okay, our first resident tonight is Sharon Bone. If you could please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Sharon Bone, 121 Summit Drive, North Huntington.
Go ahead.
I'm here to speak tonight about something that is getting ready to happen, and you may not even know about it yet because I found out today it's still at the Planning Commission stage, but I'd like to give you all a heads up about how myself and how my neighbors feel about what's getting ready to happen. We found out that a new medical building is getting ready to be put at the corner of Summit Drive and Route 30. I don't know if you know where Summit Drive is or not, but it's between the Sheets and the Dairy Queen. That's about a mile east of the Turnpike. And Summit is a housing plan that's up on the side of a hill across from Pitt Rental. That road is our only way out of that housing plan. There's no back way out. We can't go out onto Pennsylvania Avenue or any other way out. We have to come out down Summit Drive and out onto Route 30. It's a very dangerous road. The traffic coming westbound from like where Kenny Ross is, down that hill, comes barreling down there 60 miles an hour. I'm not exaggerating. And whenever we are getting ready to turn right, we have to be very careful that there's not traffic coming down that way. If we want to turn left and like go to Greensburg, you really can't turn across all 4 lanes of traffic at one time. You have to wait until the westbound traffic clears. You have to kind of then pull into the turning lane and then wait for the eastbound traffic to clear. If they want to use Summit Drive as an access point for this new medical building, it's going to give the North Huntington Township Police a lot more work to do because there's going to be a lot more accidents there. When I'm coming down westbound to make my turn to go up Summit Drive, I put my turn signal on up by, there's a car wash up there. I put my turn signal on and start braking up by a car wash, and people honk at me, they scream at me, they give me the 1-finger wave because I'm slowing down because I have to make a right angle turn to go up that hill. It's not going to be a good thing to use Summit Drive as an access point for that building. And we have school buses that come up that road, and it's going to be dangerous for the school buses. The school buses, I want them to get off Route 30 as fast as they can. And with increased traffic, it's going to be a nightmare. The only safe way to allow traffic to increase at that intersection is to put in a red light. But that's going to put 3 red lights in close proximity. It's going to be a red light there, it's going to be a red light at Sheets, it's going to be a red light at Arona Road. And that's just going to cause all the traffic to backlog as it backlogs now because of the red lights that are there, the 2 red lights that are there. So I just wanted to give you a heads up about what might be coming your way. I think it's all still at the Planning Commission now, but I don't want that building to be using that road as an access point. They have an access point on Thompson Lane now, and most of us, when we're coming down Thompson Lane, if we see a car that wants to come out of that parking lot, we let them go because we know that they have to wait for traffic too, so we stop and let them go if they can go. and it's probably going to be the easiest thing. From what I understand, it's supposed to be a huge two-story building with 60 parking spaces. And that two-story building is going to put those people in that medical building looking right in the windows of the people in those apartment complexes. Because there's a whole series of apartments along there. And right now, if those people want to, they can open their window blinds and they can open their curtains. But if they put a two-story building in there, they're going to be right up against each other, and they're going to be looking in the windows of those people in those apartments. So, but the main concern for me, and I think most of my neighbors, is the safety of the traffic in that intersection. There's other places on Route 30 where you're not even allowed to turn left. I think it's the road where the library's at. They have a sign that says you have to turn right when you're pulling out that road. You have to turn right because they don't want you trying to pass and turn. They don't want you trying to cross 4 lanes of traffic at one time because it's just too darn dangerous. Too many accidents. And so the people who are going to be coming to this new doctor's office aren't going to be aware of how dangerous that intersection is because they haven't been there the way we've been there, trying to navigate that area. So I just hope that the Planning Commission will consider that and some other points that I gave him, and that you'll consider that when the plans finally do get to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next resident is Linda Waslich. Please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record, please.
Okay, 125 Charlotte Avenue, North
ahead.
Huntington. I'm going to touch base on almost exactly what she said. And, you know, we have a nice development up there. There's approximately 35 homes. You figure every home has 2 or 3 vehicles. People go to work up and down that hill every day. Their kids up and down that hill every day. It gets crazy. And when you're coming down Summit and you come to the stop sign, like she said, you go right or you go left. But when you are coming down that hill and you get backed up, or somebody's trying to turn off of Route 30 onto Summit, it can be very, very tight. A lot of times when people come down the hill from Summit, if they aren't pulled over far enough to the right, people coming down 30 or turning off of 30 from the center turn lane to come up Summit can't make the turn because they can't fit in there. You can't stop on Route 30 because you can't get around that little corner there. It's just, and they're saying with this complex that there's going to be 60 parking spaces. So if this is a medical complex, which it's going to be, you have 60 parking spaces. How many people are going to be going in and out of that complex all day long, from morning till night, nonstop? Where are they going to go? And where are we going to go? Because there's just not the facilities there to compensate for this traffic going in there and coming out of there, and us trying to come down off of that hill or up that hill. And it's a neighborhood, and you would never believe when there's an accident on 30 and people see Summit, oh, I'm going to turn here and I'm going to head straight back to Pennsylvania Avenue. They'll come ripping up Summit all through the neighborhood, and I'm talking 45, 50 miles. You can hear their tires screeching. They go in all directions because they realize when they come up there and they're going straight ahead, there's no Pennsylvania Avenue. You'd have to go through 10 houses to get to Pennsylvania Avenue, down over a cliff. And it just gets, there's a lot of people up there with very small children, that are in the neighborhood, that are out on their bicycles, walking their dogs. I mean, it's crazy. And, you know, if they're going to build a complex, you're going to build a complex. But there is no way possible or feasible that you can turn off of Summit and into this complex safely. There's just no way that it can be done. And that's my concern, you know. Like I said, when you have 35 homes up there and all these people that live there up and down that hill, how many times a day? It's just going to be very, very congested. And it's going to be scary. And even on 30, if people come out of that Dairy Queen up there, come across, get in the center turn lane, they don't have the mentality to stop in that center turn lane, put your turn signal on, and merge. No, they barrel down there 50 miles an hour in that center turn lane. It's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Everybody in here knows Route 30. It's one of the most dangerous roads in Pennsylvania. And in a lot of instances, it's deadly. And if we can prevent this in any way, it would be great. If a lot of people take all of this into consideration and just think about it and use common sense, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next resident is Mr. Robert Watt. Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, please.
Robert Watt, 7505 Diane Avenue, North Hyndon. So, again, echoing on the comments of the other folks, when the neighborhood was built in the 1960s, Route 30 was just one lane of traffic each direction from one of my neighbors who's since passed. And there was a very wide berm on the road you could get out if you had to. That doesn't exist today. I know that 20 years ago when we were contesting the school bus being down on 30 for the children in the neighborhood, one of the arguments was that Summit itself is so narrow that it doesn't meet the criteria for a road today in terms of what the township would want to see. It's a very narrow road. And as I look at it and I say, okay, well, it is along 30, developments are going in. It'd be nice if perhaps the developer who's looking at this project, if they could fund another point of egress out of our neighborhood. And as I looked at the map, I know that there's a lot of paper alleys all throughout our area, and in the southeast corner of is it southeast or northeast? I get turned around. Closest to 30 in the Hempfield side. There's there used to be a paper alley linking up with Black Hills Drive, and that might be a possibility just to connect out to get the people out of the neighborhood, because as the folks here stated, it's just crazy. My wife was almost killed several years ago because we have on the Hempfield Township side a little bit of North Hyndon in the front of it, but it used to be Penn State Tool and Die, and now it's a tool and die shop as well. And they get deliveries. A truck was coming in the neighborhood, and there was cars coming down. It was nowhere to go, and my wife was. It was almost a head on, and it's just because the road was so narrow. That happened, at the point where they finally changed the school bus route, so we didn't have to pick it up on 30. But that's my issue, is that the point of egress for the neighborhood, it's getting worse. I lived in California for a while, and there was a bad fire, and people couldn't get out, and people were killed in neighborhoods that didn't have another point of exit. So I'd like to see another point of exit for our neighborhood, and maybe the project developer would pay for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next resident is, it's like Brenda Pecora. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name's Brenda Pecora. I live at 231 Everest Drive. I'm not going to be redundant. One of my big concerns is I have a 16-year-old who just got her driver's permit. I have a 21-year-old. The bottom, where Summit meets Route 30, it's very narrow, as they said. I've already spoke to Rod Stewart up at the high school. The reason why they won't take a full-size bus up into our neighborhood is because it can't fit into that turn. We already have a commercial building at the bottom that uses Summit as their entrance and exit. Now, we're gonna have a second right up directly across opposite. We're gonna have another medical building that's 2 stories, over 14,000 square foot with 60 parking spaces, using the same residential road as their access. I mean, if a school bus can't go up there, then, I mean, we're supposed to let our children pull out of there? I'm supposed to let my mom, my dad, all my friends? If a school bus isn't, if it's not safe for a school bus, then it's not safe for us. That's why a van goes up there, because Rod wouldn't send a full-size bus up there. Like I said, the 2 vehicles can't fit, and there's already a commercial building at the bottom of our hill. I mean, I don't want the building there. I'm gonna be very honest. Everybody can, you know, they wanna talk about a different access. I don't want the building there. There's been a residential home there. I've lived up there for 23 years. There was a residential home on there for 23 years. Lincoln Plaza 1, it's not even filled to capacity yet. There's still vacancies in that building, so we're gonna build a Lincoln Plaza 2 and let it sit a quarter of the way filled with a bunch of empty offices, and it becomes our problem. We're the ones that are being put in the dangerous situations. I just think it's so crazy to build another building right next door when the first one isn't even filled. I mean, pretty soon, I'm just worried, like I said, I have young kids. The more of these buildings we built with people coming in and out, danger on the road. And I'm sorry, like, people coming in and out, it scares me. You're bringing more people to North Huntington. That brings more crime. It brings more nonsense. I just don't believe that a building that is sitting there half empty, and there should be a second one built right next door to it. It just doesn't make sense to me. Not to mention our property values. Who's gonna, you know, we live at the tip, you go up our hill, it's a circle. And like Linda said, when there's an accident on 30, you get every excuse, for lack of a better term, you get every nitwit flying down that road thinking, I'm gonna get over to Pennsylvania Avenue. They come up and they realize it's a circle up there after 2 big swoops around, and everybody knows, all our neighbors, because I know my one neighbor said, bring your cat in, there's an accident at the bottom on 30, because they fly around. My next door neighbor has 2 very small children. 2 doors down, there's a woman, she babysits her 2 grandchildren. It's a beautiful neighborhood up there, and this building is going to just take our peaceful little neighborhood and ruin it. So I'm asking you to please consider somewhere else for this building. Tell them to fill up the first one before they want to build a second one. So thank you for hearing me out.
Is there anybody else who didn't get a chance to sign the book that would like to speak? All right, seeing none, we'll move to response to citizens' input. Looks like all 4 citizens came to speak about the same topic. Do we have anything for them before?
Yeah,
Ron?
I just want to chime in, President Atwood. The Planning Commission accepted this for review at the last meeting, so it is currently under review by our engineer. So they have the plans, and these folks are correct. It's a proposed 2-story medical building with access coming out onto Summit, as well as connecting to the existing site, which I think is important. So we'll have the engineer look at the traffic flow, trip generation from this type of use, and kind of address it. And the police have already given me some comments on it, and they're not thrilled about the Summit access as well. But I will say, Mr. Watt, I believe the Summit Drive is to township specs. It looks like I'm measuring on the mapping here. It's around 23 to 24 feet wide, which is township regulations. The other streets in the plan looks like are measuring less, around 19 to 20 feet. So maybe, I can't speak for the school district, but maybe that's why they're not bringing buses up there, is because the other streets in the plan. And then also the talk of the paper alley. I'm not seeing anything in North Huntington property that's showing an alley. But there may be something, yeah, because it looks like there are 2 homes on Everest Drive that are actually Hempfield Township. So if that's where the right-of-way is, that would be on Hempfield to improve that road or build, if the developer does it, but it would be something, Hempfield Township would have to approve, yeah, because you said there's a connection to another street.
It's not even there anymore, but it's half of the woods now.
Yeah, but if there's a right-of-way there, then it would have the ability to be improved, but that would have to be dealt with by Hempfield Township if it's connecting to a Hempfield Township road.
Right, so the project developer need to get involved with that.
Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, I just wanted to answer those couple of things, and, yeah, like I said, we're in the process of reviewing it, so I don't have any hard answers for you.
So everybody understands, what our planner is saying to you is, we haven't looked at this yet. This is a little bit premature to the extent of how the process works. The plan comes in and it's given to the first it's delegated to the planning commission for them to review, look at it, make comments, and then it comes to this board to actually vote on, with the planning commission's recommendations one way or the other. Planning commission holds a public hearing. I would advise you that you want to go to the planning commission meeting and evidence your positions as you've done tonight. The developer will be there at the planning commission. You can certainly ask the developer questions. It's not an adversarial process, but it can get back and forth with give and take. Following the planning commission's review, they will send it on to us with recommendations. At that point, this board will take it up, and you will have another opportunity to come before this board and offer whatever testimony or comments that you want to make. So this is, we're a little bit out of order, is what I'm trying to say. Albeit, we took down what you've said tonight. Just know to go to the planning commission and come back to us when it's appropriate, when we're going to have it on as a voting item, if it ever does come to that. So that's just some information.
And you know, there is an alternate place, if you guys want to. If you go to that planning commission meeting, why don't you recommend the Walmart complex? Get the building out of your area and get it up where the Walmart complex is, right? Be a lot safer.
But
There's-
he's owned this property for some time. When
Okay.
that first complex was built, he bought that property
Okay.
then. So he owns the property.
Okay,
So I'm sure he wants to do something.
understandable, yeah. Give him opportunity, give him options, you know? Tell him. See what he might come up, he might think, hey, you know what, that's a better idea.
My advice is for us to stay out of this mix until it gets to us.
I'm sure you'll see people here, because a lot of us here again.
We just got wind of it, that's why we're here.
Yes.
We're trying to get this taken care of this early before it gets too far into the process where we don't have a choice.
Yeah, I think at this point, Director Fonzie has some notes, has some stuff. We'll run it through the planning commission, then it'll come back to us, okay? Thank you folks very much for coming out tonight.
Thank you for listening.
All right, moving on to the work session
You don't want to
discussion.
stay for the rest of it?
I'm hoping I can say devotions with our daughter.
Work session discussion topics, Manager Falk.
Item number 1, a 2024 strategic plan. President Atwood would like to put together a strategic plan, and I think this is very relevant and very doable. The last time the board did one was back, I believe, in 2016, but had a company do it. I don't think we need to have a company do it. President Atwood put together a draft agenda, but I think if we break it down into once a month, an hour before a regular meeting, so that way staff can be present and attend, I think that'd be very beneficial for the township to put something together. And to get this started next month would be a perfect opportunity, because by the time we finish it, the plan, there's going to probably be changes in there that would be budget related. So after we finish the plan and you guys adopt the plan, you're going into budget season. So after you get your ideas crafted, talk to each department of their wishes, and your guys' wishes as moving forward to the township, we can develop that right into the 2025 budget. Is there any questions about that?
I just want to say, if you look at that plan, you'll see the same questions the same topics that I had reached out in the email to kind of give you all a heads up to start thinking about the process. That's all I have to add. I would like some input from everybody else.
I would say, I mean, I would be opposed to doing this right now. I'd say push it back a little bit. We just finished a comprehensive plan, which was pretty detailed. We took extensive input from the community in all phases of that comprehensive plan. I think the total cost of that was $70,000. I believe we paid half of it because the other half was grant funded, but I don't think we need to get into a strategic plan right away. We just finished a comprehensive plan. I know they're two different things, but they're similar. And again, our citizens in that comprehensive plan, they gave us direction, they gave us their ideas, their opinions on the future of the township, which we have been following, a lot of the recreation, the trails and stuff like that. I think that we push this back at least a year and we address it. We look at it again next year.
So the intent of the strategic plan is to take what we've learned from the comprehensive plan and make an action plan for it, to see how we could take that and bite off little chunks at a time. I think we'd be doing a disservice if we wait and now we're a year out, 2 years out before we actually start acting upon what the citizens said.
I mean, I think we have that comprehensive plan and we know what the citizens said. I think we act on that. I don't know why we have to sit and do a strategic plan and incorporate what we already know and what the citizens already said.
And if I may, a lot of this stuff, like the department goals and visions, I meet with the department directors and we discuss that at budget time, and then we try to craft it into the budget. But the comprehensive plan did have some additional recommendation of staffing. We do have some retirements coming up, some possible, could be a possible time to do some reorganizing of the departments, things of that nature. If the board doesn't want to, we can really touch base on the department goals and visions in the public at budget time.
Well, I was on the Comprehensive Planning Committee, and that was more a general approach. I think this is a more targeted approach to it. We can take their ideas and put them into what President Atwood has in mind, I think, and come up with some very targeted ways to implement the comprehensive plan.
I think if you look at the comprehensive plan that we have, it's not general at all. It's very specific. I mean, it's broken down into categories. It's pretty specific plan. If you read it, I've reviewed it numerous times. I don't think it's very general at all. I don't think it needs broken down or tailored anymore. That's my opinion.
I think it kind of maybe talking about the same stuff in the comprehensive strategic plan. I mean, I think as far as the board's envision it, I think it's our job to set the policy and take direction for the township. So if any of the board members have any desires that see what they want to do, they can bring it up and we can discuss it. But to have meetings just to discuss things that we don't even know about yet doesn't seem like that makes a whole lot of sense. Like I said a few months back with Jason's email that came out that was sent to us, I think they're good ideas, but I mean, to talk about what we want to do in the next 2 years, I mean, I think the comprehensive plan kind of addresses that, and then even looking towards finances, I mean, Harry's done the capital review plan, and looking forward for the future. And then even sitting with department visions and goals, I think the comprehensive plan did touch on that, as Harry stated, with staffing and allocation of resources. So, I mean, I'm okay discussing things, but I don't really know what we would discuss at the meetings unless someone had a proposal to bring something new up or change a path that we're currently going down.
Well, I've been looking at the comprehensive plan myself. As a matter of fact, it sits on my dining room table. And every once in a while, I go back and look at it. And I still think that we, as a board, need to look at it further. And like some of these questions, 3 things we do well and 3 things we need to change right away. That's not really in the comprehensive plan, because the comprehensive plan, the people on that committee couldn't make those decisions for this board.
I would agree with that, but if there's 3 things that any board member needs changed right now, shouldn't we be already addressing that? Like to bring it up for a vote, saying, hey, President Atwood, I would like to put this on the agenda because this is really important. We need to do this yesterday. So we should already be doing that. I mean, to me, that's things we should be doing as a board. We shouldn't have to talk about things we need to do. We should just do them.
Well, I still think that we can be a little more involved and a little more hands-on with some of the things that need to be done. We didn't talk to individual members of the staff on the Comprehensive Planning Committee. We didn't look at what they needed.
That's our manager's job. He does that on a daily basis.
Staff
That's
meetings.
not our job to talk to staff members and find out what they need.
Well, then Harry can do that.
He does it
But-
every
but
day,
then we need to-
I'm assuming.
But then we need to take Harry's advice or whatever and his opinions and look at those then.
And I would assume when there's issues with any staffing, or if Harry uncovers any issues, he brings them to us. And we address them at the time.
I personally have been invited to one of Manager Falk's staff meetings, so he does do that, so there again.
I don't think it's wrong, I don't think it's a bad idea to have a blending of more than one idea. Gives people the opportunity that maybe this strategic plan doesn't have something that the comprehensive plan doesn't have something the strategic plan has. Number one, I don't think there's anything wrong with discussing things. I really, really don't. Open dialogue, transparency, these things are all good. And if it means we have to sit up here a little bit longer to discuss things, then I think everybody's up here really for the betterment of the community and the townspeople. And I think it's nice to bounce ideas off of each other. We're all educated, we're all logical people. I think, let's just talk about it and discuss it. And I'm actually for it.
You got any ideas there, Commissioner Gray?
I reviewed the plan from 2016, and I actually think it's pretty good. We did a good job back then. There are some issues that I see that there's a lot of reference in this about the assistant manager being appointed to as the SPOC, single point of contact for various issues. I think we would be okay just revisiting this one. And like Ron said, Harry meets with department heads all the time. And if there's something that Harry's not sure about, he should bring it to us, and I'm sure he does. So I don't think we need to have an extra hour gab session before every meeting for a while. Yeah.
Well, actually say the same thing if this is redundant. Why, like you said, just like Commissioner Haggis said, we bring issues up as they come up. And when we need stuff put on the board or on the agenda, we ask for it to be put on the agenda and we handle it and go from there. So there again, another hour prior to our meetings for the same redundant, I would be against it also.
You have some direction on that?
Okay. Moving on to item number 2, the NHTMA fee waiver request. Mike Brandhoover, the executive director down there at the NHTMA, is here. They're doing a major treatment facility overhaul, and he can elaborate more on that. But after our last meeting, the motion was tabled. The total project cost is $46 million, and the total permit fee for North Huntington Township comes to $345,907 that they would have to pay to the township for the fee. A few years ago, the township decreased the fee from the Municipal Water Authority from $194,000 down to $100,000, roughly 50%. So if you want to, I recommend to remain consistent and cut that fee in half of $345,000 down to $172,953. So there is some consistency moving forward. But again, the board also, a couple of years ago, the school board did come in front of the board for a fee for a roof. There was a $12,000 fee, and the board did not waive that fee. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Brandhoover to talk about the project.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Basically, I'm here, as Harry said, to ask the board to consider waiving the building permit fees for our project. And as he stated, are $349,607. And to Harry's point about the municipal authority, I think it was WWMA down over the hill, that sewage authority down there. They're a regional authority. They treat 6 different communities. They treat North Huntington, Irwin, North Irwin, Penn Trafford, Trafford, and Manorburrow, in addition to North Huntington. Also, as far as the school district's concerned, while they do service North Huntington, they do serve Irwin and North Irwin. We are exclusively North Huntington Township. We are an extension of the township. You all appoint our 5 board of directors. And we share resources with the township. Just this past week, we had our jetback truck out working with the road department trying to clear some debris from a tunnel under a driveway. There was some debris in there, a tree, and we worked with them all day. I had 2 guys out there. But in turn, the township does share resources with us as well. So, we work together as a unit. So I kind of feel that we are really one. We may be separate because you need an authority to handle the billing for sewage, and also, you have the MS4 coming up as well. And that could be something we might be able to help you guys out with. So I'm just here to ask your consideration. If you had questions about the specific project, I'd be happy to answer any and all of your questions. No? Okay, great.
Thank you for coming and
Oh, sure.
bringing your request to us and explaining that. That's very helpful, because I think just what you said, Manager Falk, I think just to clarify, when the school board requested that waiver last year, I think that was done by a letter, and no one came before us to request that from us. So I think that means a lot, that you took
Thank you.
time out to come here, that it's that much of a concern that you came and brought it before us, so thank you.
Oh, thank you. I have a love for the township, it's deep-rooted and deep-seated, so I appreciate that, thank you.
My one question would, I guess, be to Manager Falk and maybe Director Fonzie. How much staff time would we have tied up, or even engineering outside resources in for the permitting and whatnot?
With the review time for
Yeah.
Mr. McGuire, he did give me a breakdown. I can't remember if I forwarded that to you, Harry, or not. I think he had 9 hours in at the time, so he was keeping track, but I don't know if he's at a stopping point yet, because things keep coming in
Yeah.
that he keeps reviewing, so.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, for the permitting, I would just pretty much would like to see our township time, staff, and resources that we put into anything to do with it compensated for. But outside of that, I'm okay waiving any other fees outside of that. So whatever, we could get a rough number with that, if that would be $20,000 or whatever, just throwing a number out there. I'm okay with waiving any fees that were over that amount personally.
I can get you a more accurate
Yeah, and I mean,
number
obviously,
for next
we're
week.
not gonna have it for probably, until it's all done, but yeah.
May I make a suggestion? So what we do currently with developers, we have inspection costs that are incurred with them. We bill them for our time on site per hour, and that includes wages and benefits, not just their time. If there's any materials involved, of course, we pay for that as well. So Ryan, if you do have time with Tom and you want to share that with us, if you'd like to bill us, I think that would be fine on a monthly, quarterly, however basis, if that would work. You know, you and I could work together with Tom on that. I'd be up for that as well. I'm pretty sure our board of directors would be receptive to that too, because you have to collect, you know, money for your time involved, for sure.
And we do have an invoicing system that we could just handle that separately
All
from
right.
this fee if need be.
I'll be okay with that option too.
If I may, address to the solicitor, since I am on the board for the municipal, should I abstain?
Yeah, I think that's a prudent thing to do.
Okay.
I don't think there's a conflict, but just because you're on both boards, that's a prudent position.
So would the board like to see a motion next week to bill them to cover the cost?
I think the motion should be that we waive our permit fees and only charge them for out-of-pocket
Right.
expenses, including fringe benefits and et cetera. Wages, salary,
Right.
fringe benefits, but waive the general requirement of a fee pursuant to our fee ordinance.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. We would love to do that.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. Thank you all very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Item number 3 is your Act 172 eligibility list. You will have this on the agenda next week to approve, and after that, we can start issuing refunds to the eligible firefighters and EMS personnel in the township. Item number 4 is the vehicle surplus list. Public Works put together a list of all the vehicles, surplus vehicles that are not in use. Some of them have issues, some of them can be run, some of them cannot be run. My recommendation is to first seek interest from our volunteer firefighters, see if any, or fire departments, see if any of the fire departments are interested in any of them that run. They could use it as an additional vehicle for personnel, for training purposes, things like that. Go to training classes. They don't have to take a squad truck or a fire engine out of service to go to a training. They could just take a vehicle, a car, if they don't have one. And 2, if the ones that aren't operable have the opportunity for a fire department to use it for training, for vehicle extrication. They can do some training with that. And then whatever they don't want, whatever's left over from those 2 lists, put them out for bid. And then any money we receive from those bids would go into the capital fund. Is there any questions about that? All right, item number 5, Scotch Hill number 1, additional stormwater inlets installations. So Scotch Hill number 1, there's a pipe behind the properties on Frog Road. And our water collects on Scotch Hill, goes through that pipe and dumps behind the residents of Frog Hill. It's causing some issues this past few years. Last year, we installed, we didn't install, we replaced one inlet from one side of the road on Frog Road that went over to the creek. And then up further, we discovered one catch basin that was buried in the right-of-way underneath the driveway. We got that out and rebuilt it and rebuilt the pipe going into the creek there on the other side. But we are dumping water on residents' property on Frog Road. So that's another project that if the board wishes to fix coming down the pipe. But KU Resources has a proposal in front of the board for $14,750 to begin looking at adding additional storm pipes and drainage up on Scotch Hill to prevent that water from going into that existing pipe and down onto Frog Road. If you take a drive up there on Scotch Hill, look over at the pipe, you can see all the erosion that's being caused by our pipe on the private property, so that we can begin to fix this. Is the board interested in moving forward with this proposal?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Item number 6, pickleball court proposal. Last year, we submitted a grant. It's a matching grant. I believe our grant, or our match at that time was around $30,000. We received a $100,000 grant for the pickleball court. So with the pickleball court up at Oak Hollow Park, on the other side of the basketball court, we feel, if you look at the design, it's getting squeezed in there, but we feel that it'd be prudent of us to add additional parking. We believe 15 parking spots right there next to the basketball court. So that way, typically people that play pickleball court are an older generation. They could pull in the parking lot there. They don't have to cross the road, the entrance and exit of the park. They could safely park there. And then we have a path going from the parking spot around the basketball court to the 2 pickleball courts. So the total project cost, including that, is $177, but there's some contingencies, so around $180,000. We do have, so the total cost for the municipality would be roughly $80,000. We do have $5,000 in the park fund earmarked for Oak Hollow, so we can use that, so that'll bring it down to about $75,000. However, at Indian Lake, there is around $100,000 plus earmarked for Indian Lake. So if the board wishes, by resolution, you can transfer some of that earmarked money for Indian Lake over to Oak Hollow Park to help fund this project. We currently do not have any projects coming down the pipe, well, except for the bridge and the dam, but the bridge can be a quick fix. We're applying for DCNR funding for that, but the spillway is a couple years in the making for a project. So we believe that if we transfer that $70,000 that's earmarked for Indian Lake for the pickleball court and parking lot at Oak Hollow, that'll help reduce the burden of the general fund. Does that make sense to the board?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any questions moving forward with this? This will be on, we'll draft the resolution tomorrow. The board has done one similar in the past, but there'll be a resolution on the agenda next week to transfer that earmarked money from Indian Lake to Oak Hollow Park for this project.
I have a question on that. We had talked numerous times in the past about that lake needing dredged and the exorbitant amount of money that was probably gonna cost. Do we have any update on that, on the time frame? Because I know we've talked about that for several years now. It's been brought up that, and we kept saying it's gonna be needed down the road.
I believe Dan is talking with the contractor that is currently doing another lake in the county to see what the cost is for that.
Do we
But I
know
don't
when
have
it's
I
gonna-
don't have a time frame or a cost at least.
That would be my only concern with transferring that money out of there, is if we're told that needs done within a year or two, where are we gonna get the funds to take care of that? I mean, I like the idea of transferring, of having the park the way it's drawn up here, but that would be my only concern.
Yeah, and remember, Tuscan Hills is still developing, so there's still some money coming in from Tuscan Hills. I believe there's there's the Rodin plan that's still out there, the subdivision that can be earmarked. And is there any other subdivisions out there that are still waiting?
None that I know of.
Yeah.
We're drying up a little bit.
No pun intended, right?
But, yeah, there's grant money available for those projects. Every year, the DCNR, we can apply for dredging projects. We can apply for the spillway project. This year, we're applying for the bridge replacement because everybody uses that bridge as a walking path, and that gives us a lot of points for that.
So what would, the resolution would be to transfer how much from Indian Lake?
About
$70,000? Okay.
$70,000, give or take $1 or $2.
So that would still leave about 30,000?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah. And I can have those exact numbers to you,
okay, thank you.
but that's what I recall at budget time last fall. And that is all I have.
Thank you, Manager Falk. Moving on to planning and engineering topics, Director Fonzie.
Yes, we discussed four plans at the Planning Commission meeting last week. 3 subdivisions and 1 site plan. The first of the subdivisions is S3 of 2024. This is the Willow Estates Phase 2 Revision 4. And these are 2 lots owned by Willow Glen Development Company, and lots 2116 and 2117. And there is a potential buyer that wants these consolidated. So that's what this subdivision is doing. It's consolidating these 2 lots into one larger lot at 0.623 acres to build a single-family home. Of course, it meets the minimum dimensional requirements because it's essentially doubling in size. And the Planning Commission approved this 7-0 with no conditions. Any questions on this one? Speaking of fee and lieu, so Willow Estates, phases 2 and 3, that's going to start ramping up again because Miranda Homes has started 2 sites in there, 1 townhouse and 1 single-family home. So there's going to be some more fee and lieu money, a few $1,000s rolling in from that over the next year or so. Okay, the second subdivision is subdivision 4 of 2024. This is the Ivanhoe Drive plan. As you can see, this is at the end of Ivanhoe Drive in Camelot, and the developer, or the owner, is Pasquarelli Property Management. Over the last few years, Mr. Pasquarelli has purchased up a lot of existing lots in that area with the intention to extend James or Walter Drive and create another cul-de-sac, as well as build out a few of those existing lots. But with this portion, there's a piece, you can't see all of it, but the red lot is 7.43 acres, and the blue lot is 0.69 acres. So the blue lot is right at the end of Ivanhoe. Pasquarelli owns them both, and what he wants to do is subdivide 4 acres off of the red lot and then append it to the blue lot, which would give one lot of 4.69 acres. And while doing that, he's also going to dedicate right-of-way so that in the future, when we pave Ivanhoe Drive, we can pave a full cul-de-sac in there instead of the existing hammerhead turnaround, which is difficult for delivery drivers or snow plows, fire trucks, things like that. He does have to acquire an EDU from DEP for the sewage planning, but other than that, that would be the only condition on the plan. And the Planning Commission recommended that 7-0. Any questions on this one? And I should note the residual part of that larger lot will be part of the other subdivision that he already has in the works. So he had asked for preliminary approval on that a couple months ago, so he is still working on some of those conditions to bring it before final approval. Okay, the last subdivision is subdivision 5 of 2024. This is Tuscan Hills 5 and 6 Revision 1. And this is, there's residual area which is earmarked for Tuscan Hills Phase 7, which was approved last year but not recorded. So the developer is still building the roads, putting in the storm, putting in the sanitary lines. So there were 2 lots, this red strip of a lot and then this larger residual A. So those will combine to form Phase 7. But what is happening is Ryan Homes wants to build a model home. Okay, and this is at the end of Sabato Drive. Ryan Homes will not build a home on property they don't own because this is still owned by the developer, Pasquarelli, which his company is Dondia LLC. So what they are proposing is, this is lot 701, and this is exactly how it shows up on Tuscan Hills Phase 7, which was already approved. So they're essentially just carving it out of one of these residual pieces to do an ownership change. So on their end, it's just a formality. The sewage planning was already approved for Phase 7. I believe there's 37 EDUs. So naturally, Lot 701 will just use one of those EDUs that they've already acquired. So again, this is just a formality between Don Dia LLC and Ryan Homes / NVR. For us, it doesn't really matter. They could have built the house on the red lot as it existed, but they have to do it on their end. So again, Planning Commission approved it 7-0, no conditions. Any questions on this one? Okay, and the last item is Site Plan 10 of 2023. This is the Leader Properties Plaza, and this was tabled, I believe, November of last year. And the developer, the engineer, surveyor came through with a revised drawing. So this is near Carpenter Lane, next to the dentistry, between Carl Signs. Mr. Leader is proposing a 16,000 square foot warehouse, 5,000 square foot warehouse, and a 16,000 square foot multi-tenant building. The original plans showed a driveway here at the lower portion that would go out to Carpenter Lane and actually have the neighboring property use that with a reciprocal easement type of situation. That other property is not ready to go ahead with their plans as they wanted to, so Mr. Leader is now taking this driveway directly out to Ward Drive. They are only seeking preliminary approval because they essentially want to get the okay from PennDOT to see what they would have to do with their HOP, so they weren't ready to go ahead with the full development. But our SAUDO says that even if you get preliminary approval, you can still start developing the site. We have asked for a waiver from the applicant to waive those development rights, and they've already signed that and given that to me. So giving them preliminary approval doesn't really give them any power with the township. It's just so they can get their foot in the door with PennDOT to see what kind of feedback that they'll get from the HOP permit. So again, they won't have any development rights if this is given preliminary approval. They'll still have to come back in front of the Planning Commission, in front of you guys, with all the final conditions that would come through a full review from our consulting engineer. So this was approved 7-0 by the Planning Commission. Again, all conditions will be deferred till final approval application. Any questions on this site? That's all I have.
Thank you, Director Fonzie. Moving on to old business. Does anybody have anything for old business? No? Before we move on to further board comments, I just want to take an opportunity to wish good luck to our Norwin Lady Knights as they go to the state Elite Eight, I think, is tomorrow night, in State College. Does anybody else have anything else for further board comments?
Yes, I'd like to just say something. I know with the weather we've been having, beautiful outside today, there again, we are still in winter. In no way am I rushing spring and summer by this announcement, with March 19th being the first day of spring. Then, of course, we go into summer. But something for the community to look forward to. The committee has already been in place. We're adding to the committee. But there again, to recognize our first responders, we are going to have another first responder event September. I know it's far away, but it takes a lot of planning, so I just want the community to look forward to something that we are going to be honoring our first responders. It's going to be our police, fire, and EMS, and we're considering, of course, ones that protect us nationally as our military. So look forward to it. Stay tuned. We just wanted to let people know it's out there.
I'll be parachuting in. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything for further board comments?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Zona, second by Commissioner Gray. All those in favor by stating aye? Oh, I'm sorry, any further board comment? All those in favor by stating aye? Aye. Motion approved 7-0. Meeting adjourned at 8 o'clock.